I used to think carbs were the enemy. For years, I avoided them like the plague: rice, potatoes, fruit, even vegetables that seemed too high in carbs. I thought cutting them out completely was the only way to stay lean and in control of my weight. But the truth, that approach left me drained, moody, and constantly craving sugar. I'd lose a few pounds quickly only to gain them all back the moment I had a single bite of bread. Then one day, something clicked. I realized the problem wasn't the carbs, it was how I was eating them. I started learning about insulin, about how timing and pairing the right type of carbs could actually make my metabolism more flexible. I discovered that when you eat carbs strategically in sync with your body's natural rhythm, you can stabilize your blood sugar, burn fat more efficiently, and finally stop yo-yo dieting. It felt completely counterintuitive at first. I mean, eat carbs and burn fat, but once I understood the science, it made perfect sense. When your body is properly fueled, your metabolism becomes responsive again. You stop storing fat and start using it. And here's the best part: this isn't about restriction, it's about rebalancing. The right carb hack can help you break through plateaus, sleep better, and even feel calmer around food. No fasting marathons, no keto burnout. So if you've ever wondered whether you can bring carbs back in and still lose fat, I'm about to show you exactly how it's possible and why this one tweak could completely change the way you think about carbs forever. When I first went zero carb, I thought I was doing everything right. The weight came off fast, my energy spiked for the first few days, and I felt unstoppable. But then something shifted. My energy started dipping midday, my workouts felt harder, and my cravings became intense, not for junk food, but for simple things like fruit or rice. I brushed it off as detox, but my body was actually sending me a message. Here's what most people don't realize: when you cut out carbs completely for too long, your body goes into a kind of survival mode. Carbs are your body's preferred quick energy source, and when they suddenly disappear, your metabolism slows down to conserve energy. This is why so many people hit that frustrating plateau after a few weeks on strict keto or carnivore. The science behind this is all about hormones, specifically thyroid and leptin. Your thyroid is like your metabolic engine. It helps regulate how quickly your body burns energy. When carb intake is too low for too long, thyroid hormone production can drop, meaning your hunjin starts running on low power. At the same time, leptin, the hormone that signals fullness and fat burning readiness, also declines. That's when you start feeling tired, hungry, and stuck. I used to think feeling sluggish was just part of adjusting to fat burning mode, but in reality, it was my body crying out for balance. Carbs, when used correctly, help regulate leptin and keep thyroid hormones active. They tell your body that food is available, that it's safe to burn fat rather than store it. This doesn't mean we should be eating carbs all day. Far from it. What truly drives fat loss is something called metabolic flexibility. It's your body's ability to switch smoothly between using carbs for energy and fat for fuel, depending on what's available. When you have good metabolic flexibility, your body doesn't panic when you eat carbs, and it doesn't crash when you don't. It simply adapts, which means steady energy, better workouts, and consistent fat loss. The problem with extreme low-carb diets is that they make your body rigid. You start losing that ability to adapt. Over time, even a small portion of carbs can cause a big insulin spike or bloating because your body has forgotten how to handle glucose efficiently. That's why people often say they gain weight instantly after reintroducing carbs. It's not the carbs themselves, it's the lack of metabolic flexibility. When I began adding carbs back strategically, everything changed. I started with whole food sources like sweet potatoes, berries, or jasmine rice, and timed them around my workouts or in the evening when cortisol naturally drops. Within days, I noticed my sleep improved, my mood stabilized, and the fat I couldn't lose before finally started melting again. It's fascinating how your body responds once you stop fighting it. When you include carbs intelligently, insulin doesn't spike wildly. Instead, it works like a messenger, shuttling nutrients into your muscles instead of storing them as fat. Your metabolism becomes active again, your hunger signals balance out, and you feel calm around food. No more white knuckling your way through cravings. The truth is, fat loss isn't about removing entire food groups. It's about teaching your metabolism to be flexible, responsive, and efficient. Your body is designed to thrive on both carbs and fats, not to fear one or rely completely on the other. So if you've ever felt stuck, tired, or constantly hungry after cutting out all carbs, it's not that you've failed. It's that your body is asking for a smarter, more sustainable strategy, one that works with your metabolism instead of against it. The more I experimented with bringing carbs back, the more I realized it's not about eating more or less of them. It's about how and day when you eat them. That's what I call the carb hack. It's the simple but powerful idea that carbs can actually accelerate fat loss if you understand the science of timing, type, and pairing. For years, I believed carbs were just sugar waiting to turn into fat. But that's not the full story. Carbs themselves aren't the problem. It's how they interact with your hormones, especially insulin. When you eat carbs the right way, insulin becomes your ally instead of your enemy. It helps shuttle nutrients into your muscles, keeps your metabolism fired up, and prevents those extreme highs and crashes that make you crave more food later. Let's start with the first pillar. Either's type. Not all carbs are created equal. The ones that support fat loss are whole, unprocessed, and nutrient-rich, like sweet potatoes, oats, quinoa, berries, or root vegetables. These carbs are digested slowly, providing a steady release of glucose that fuels your body without spiking insulin. The more fiber and micronutrients a carb source has, the more stable your blood sugar stays. That's why something as simple as switching from white bread to roasted squash or basmati rice can completely change how your body responds. The second pillar is timing dies. This one is a game changer. When you eat carbs matters just as much as what kind you eat. The best times to include carbs as after a workout or as in the evening. After training, your muscles act like sponges. They're insulin sensitive and ready to soak up glucose to replenish glycogen stores. That means your body is more likely to use those carbs for recovery and muscle repair, not fat storage. Evening carbs, on the other hand, can be incredibly beneficial for people who struggle with sleep, cravings, or cortisol imbalance. Eating a small serving of slow digesting carbs at dinner helps calm your nervous system and boosts serotonin, which later converts to melatonin, your sleep hormone. Better sleep means lower cortisol and more fat burning the next day. Now, the third pillar is Asr's Paringa. This is where most people go wrong. Eating carbs alone, especially refined ones, can cause insulin to spike quickly, leading to a crash later. But when you pair your carbs with protein or healthy fat, you slow down that absorption. This keeps your blood sugar stable, your energy steady, and your body in fat burning mode longer. Think of meals like salmon with roasted sweet potatoes or eggs with a slice of sourdough and avocado. The fat and protein anchor the carbs, preventing that roller coaster effect. I remember when I first started using this hack, I used to fear adding rice or fruit back in, but when I paired them with my protein and timed them right, I noticed something incredible. My body felt fueled, not bloated. My workouts improved, I wasn't constantly hungry, and I actually started leaning out again. My metabolism felt alive instead of sluggish and stuck. There's a rhythm to how your body uses carbs, and once you understand it, everything changes. When you eat the right type of carbs at the right S time and in the right EFA pairing, you create an internal environment where your body knows exactly what to do with them. It stops storing and starts burning. And here's the best part. This approach isn't restrictive. It gives you freedom. You can enjoy foods you once thought were off limits without guilt or fear of undoing your progress. The carb hack is about working with your body's natural rhythm instead of constantly fighting it. So I'm curious, how do you usually eat your carbs? Do you prefer them earlier in the day or later with dinner? And which way makes you feel more energized, more balanced, and more in control of your fat loss? One of the biggest misconceptions about fat loss is that insulin is the enemy. We've been taught that if insulin rises, fat burning stops. Period. And while that's partly true, it's not the full picture. The real key isn't to avoid insulin altogether, but to stabilize it. When insulin is balanced, Your metabolism runs smoothly, your energy stays consistent, and your body actually becomes better at burning fat, even after you eat. I used to think any carb, no matter how small, would immediately shut off fat burning. I remember eating a banana once after months of strict keto and feeling like I'd ruined everything. But what I didn't understand then was that insulin isn't a switch you flip on and off. It's a rhythm your body manages based on how you eat. When you feed your body strategically, insulin works for you, not against you. Let's break it down. Every time you eat, insulin rises slightly to help move nutrients, especially glucose, into your cells. That's normal and necessary. But when you eat a large amount of refined carbs or sugar alone, insulin spikes sharply. Your body quickly shuttles the sugar out of your bloodstream, which causes that crash, the fatigue, the cravings, the irritability. And when this happens repeatedly, your cells become less responsive to insulin over time, a condition called insulin resistance. That's when fat loss stalls, hunger increases, and your metabolism slows down. Now, here's the surprising part. You can train your body to handle carbs better simply by controlling the way you combine and time them. When you pair carbs with protein and fat, digestion slows down, glucose is released gradually, and insulin stays level. Instead of that sharp spike, you get a gentle rise and fall, no crash, no cravings. It's like teaching your metabolism to stay calm instead of panicking every time carbs show up. For example, eating rice with salmon or chicken, or having fruit with Greek yogurt, keeps your insulin balanced and helps your body actually use that fuel efficiently. Protein and fat act like buffers. They slow the release of sugar into the bloodstream, keeping you in that stable fat burning zone. Over time, this trains your body to become metabolically flexible, able to switch seamlessly between burning carbs and fat depending on what's available. And this is where the magic happens. When your insulin stays stable, your body no longer feels the need to store fat for later. It becomes confident that energy is available, so it keeps burning instead of hoarding. You'll notice more consistent energy, fewer crashes, and even improved workout performance because your muscles can access both glucose and fat efficiently. I started to notice this shift when I stopped fearing carbs and started respecting them. Instead of cutting them out, I used them strategically. My meals became balanced, like steak with roasted sweet potatoes and a drizzle of olive oil, or eggs with fruit and nut butter. I wasn't just eating for taste, I was eating to teach my body balance. And within weeks, my cravings dropped, my mood leveled out, and fat loss started happening effortlessly again. Here's the beautiful part. When insulin is balanced, your body doesn't stop burning fat after a meal. Instead, it alternates smoothly, using what you just ate for energy, then returning to fat burning mode once insulin naturally tapers. This cycle is what true metabolic health feels like: steady energy all day, less hunger, and freedom from the constant mental battle with food. The right carbs, meaning whole, nutrient dense, and properly paired, don't cause chaos in your system. They bring stability. They tell your body you're safe, you're fueled, and you can let go of stored fat. So if you've ever noticed that your cravings vanish when you combine carbs with protein or fat, that's not your imagination. That's your body's chemistry responding in the best way possible. When I finally stopped fearing carbs and started studying how my body responded to them, one thing became crystal clear. Timing is everything. You could be eating the healthiest carbs in the world, but if you eat them at the wrong times, they can still make you feel sluggish, bloated, and stuck. The secret is learning when your body actually wants carbs, when it can use them for energy and recovery instead of storing them. Here's where most people go wrong. They either eat carbs constantly throughout the day, keeping insulin elevated and blocking fat burning, or they go the other extreme and avoid carbs altogether, which spikes cortisol, the stress hormone. Both approaches push your metabolism out of balance. The sweet spot lies somewhere in the middle, where you time carbs according to your hormones and activity levels. Let's start with what's happening inside your body. In the morning, cortisol levels are naturally higher. This helps you wake up, mobilize fat for energy, and get focused for the day. But when cortisol is high, your body isn't as insulin sensitive, meaning it doesn't handle carbs as efficiently. That's why many people feel groggy or crave sugar mid-morning if they eat a carb-heavy breakfast. The better choice early in the day is a protein and fat-focused meal, like eggs with avocado or a steak and butter coffee, to keep blood sugar stable and fat burning strong. Now, after a workout, things shift dramatically. Your muscles have just burned through glycogen, and they're primed to absorb glucose. This is one of the best times to eat carbs because your body will use them to refill glycogen stores and repair muscle tissue, not store fat. Think of this window as your carb sweet spot. A balanced post-workout meal might look like salmon with rice, chicken with potatoes, or a smoothie with fruit and protein. You'll not only recover faster, but your metabolism will stay revved up for hours after. Then there's the evening, the time most people are told to avoid carbs. But here's the truth: if your goal is balanced hormones, good sleep, and long-term fat loss, eating your carbs at night can actually be incredibly effective. By evening, cortisol has naturally dropped, and insulin sensitivity in your muscles remains decent, especially if you've been active during the day. A moderate portion of slow digesting carbs, like quinoa, squash, or sweet potatoes, helps raise serotonin, which later converts into melatonin, your sleep hormone. Better sleep equals better recovery, better hunger control, and better fat burning the next day. When I started using this timing strategy, I noticed something powerful. My cravings went away. I wasn't fighting my body anymore. I was listening to it. I'd start my day with mostly protein and fat, add carbs strategically after training, and have a small serving at dinner to calm my nervous system. My energy stayed steady, my sleep improved, and my body composition started shifting effortlessly. Here's an example of what a carb timing day might look like. Morning, high cortisol, zone coffee or tea with butter or cream, then a breakfast of eggs and avocado, minimal carbs to stay in fat burning mode. As midday activity, window desk protein, rich lunch like grilled chicken with greens and olive oil. Workout, refuel window, carbs plus protein combo, maybe rice with fish or a fruit and protein smoothie. Egas evenings, recovery zone grass, a small portion of slow carbs with protein and fat, salmon with sweet potato, or beef with roasted root veggies. This rhythm keeps insulin controlled, cortisol balanced, and your metabolism flexible. You'll feel full but light, energized yet calm. And the best part, you're not restricting or obsessing, you're syncing with your body's natural flow. Once you align your carb intake with your hormones, everything starts to make sense. You stop craving randomly, you sleep deeper, and fat loss becomes sustainable instead of forced. So let me ask you, when do you usually crave carbs the most? Morning, afternoon, or at night? Because sometimes those cravings aren't sabotage, they're your body's way of asking for balance. When I first started low carb eating, I thought feeling exhausted, anxious, and hungry all the time meant I was doing it right. I told myself that the cravings were just part of the process, that the fatigue meant I was burning fat. But what I didn't realize back then was that my body wasn't thriving. It was stressed. Cutting out carbs completely was keeping my cortisol high and my nervous system on edge. The truth is, your body doesn't just run on willpower, it runs on energy balance. And that includes glucose, the fuel your brain and muscles love most. When you constantly deprive yourself of it, cortisol rises to keep your blood sugar stable. That's why you might feel wired but tired, restless at night, or emotionally drained. You're not weak, you're under-fueled. I remember those nights when I'd swear I was done eating for the day, only to find myself staring into the fridge an hour later. It wasn't lack of discipline, it was biology. My body was begging for stability. When cortisol stays high for too long, your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, start sending mixed signals. You feel unsatisfied even after eating, and that can trigger the very thing we all fear: bin cycles. That's where strategic carbs come in as a healing tool, not a setback. When you add the right kind of carbs at the right times, your body finally feels safe to relax. Your nervous system calms down, cortisol drops. You stop thinking about food all day because your body trusts that it's getting what it needs. This is what true metabolic balance feels like: steady energy, calm focus, and no more mental tug of war between I shouldn't and I shouldn't. And here's what's fascinating. Carbs can directly influence your mood through serotonin. Your feel good neurotransmitter. When you eat slow digesting carbs in a balanced meal, serotonin increases, helping you feel relaxed and content. That's why a small serving of sweet potatoes at dinner can make you feel grounded, while a zero-carb meal can sometimes leave you feeling restless or empty. Over time, this calmness rewires your relationship with food. You stop chasing energy and start creating it. I've seen this transformation not just in myself, but in so many people who felt stuck on keto or fasting. They were tired of rebounding, the strict weeks of discipline followed by the crash, the binge, the guilt. Once they began incorporating carbs intentionally, a handful of fruit after a workout, some rice at dinner, their bodies stopped fighting back. Their sleep improved, cravings disappeared, and fat loss became steady instead of chaotic. It's almost poetic how something as simple as a potato or a bowl of rice can represent permission. Permission to fuel yourself without fear, to nourish instead of restrict, because the goal isn't to starve your metabolism into submission. It's to feed it wisely so it trusts you again. If you've been struggling with constant cravings, emotional eating, or fatigue on your fat loss journey, this might be the missing piece. When you learn to use carbs as a recovery tool, not a comfort food, not a trigger, everything shifts. Your workouts feel better, your mood stabilizes, and you stop feeling like food is controlling you. Adding strategic carbs isn't giving up on discipline. It's giving your body the balance it needs to stay disciplined effortlessly. It's the difference between fighting your biology and working with it. Because when your body feels nourished, your mind relaxes. The constant chatter, should I eat this? Did I mess up? Goes silent. You simply eat, feel satisfied, and move on. That's what real food freedom looks like. So think about it. When was the last time you finished a meal and felt truly satisfied, not stuffed, not guilty, but calm and content? Because that feeling might just be the sign that your body and your metabolism are finally in balance. Once I found the balance between carbs, protein, and fat, everything about my approach to food changed. I stopped obsessing over what to cut out and started focusing on what to balance, because long-term fat loss isn't about extremes. It's about building a rhythm your body can thrive in day after day, year after year. The truth is, our bodies are designed for flexibility. When you fuel them properly, with enough protein, moderate healthy fats, and the right carbs, your metabolism becomes incredibly resilient. You can eat out, travel, enjoy celebrations, and never feel like you're starting over on Monday. That's what makes a lifestyle sustainable, not how strict it is, but how livable it feels. Protein is the anchor of this balance. It supports muscle repair, keeps you full, and raises your metabolic rate. Every meal should start here. Think of it as the foundation. Then add moderate amounts of healthy fat for steady energy and hormone support. Finally, layer in smart carbs, whole fiber rich, and time to your activity levels. When these three macronutrients work together, your body naturally stays in fat burning mode without needing to fast for long periods or restrict heavily. When I began structuring my meals this way, I noticed how effortless everything became. My hunger stayed stable. My energy never crashed. I didn't feel the need to binge or cheat because nothing was off limits. I was fueling instead of depriving. And because my metabolism was balanced, I could enjoy carbs without losing progress. They were now part of the plan, not something to fear. Here's what a typical day might look like when you're living this balanced way. Breakfast is eggs or protein shake with some avocado. High protein, moderate fat, low carb to start your day in fat burning mode. A less lunch, grilled chicken with greens, olive oil, and maybe a small serving of quinoa or lentils for steady energy. At your dinner, salmon or steak with roasted veggies and sweet potato. A gentle carb refeed to relax your nervous system and improve sleep. As snacks, Greek yogurt, nuts, or a piece of fruit paired with protein. No extremes, no rules that make you miserable. Just flow. The more consistent you become, the more your body rewards you. You'll notice your cravings fading, your digestion improving, your energy stabilizing. And instead of chasing results, you'll be as maintaining them naturally. It's important to understand that your metabolism is adaptive. It responds to consistency, not punishment. When you constantly jump between fasting, binging, and restricting, your body gets confused. But when you feed it predictably, protein-rich meals, balanced fats, and purposeful carbs, your hormones stabilize. Leptin and ghrelin, your hunger and satiety hormones begin to sync again. Insulin sensitivity improves, and fat loss becomes effortless maintenance. This lifestyle also gives you freedom, the kind that lasts. You can travel without panic, enjoy a family meal without guilt, and still stay in fat-burning mode because your body knows how to handle balance. You don't lose progress from one indulgent meal because your metabolism is strong enough to bounce back. That's the difference between dieting and living metabolically free. Dieting is restriction and fear. Metabolic balance is trust. You trust your body because you've taught it how to respond. You know how to eat for energy, how to refuel after workouts, and how to calm cravings without losing control. This is what sustainable fat loss looks like. It's not about giving up carbs or fasting endlessly. It's about learning your body's rhythm and nourishing it consistently. Over time, this becomes second nature. You won't have to count or stress. You'll simply feel when your body needs more protein, when it's craving carbs for recovery, or when it's ready to rest. If you're ready to live this way, strong, fueled, and free, I want to help you take the next step. Comment, Sirsa in our Paktis, if you want me to create a full 7-day meal guide that uses this exact balance of protein, fat, and smart carbs so you can finally master the art of sustainable fat burning for life.